Hello, dear friends. My name is Sofya Dorinskaya. I am a psychiatrist, director of the Center for Medical Information and the School of Mental Health. Today, I want to continue talking about vitamins, about nutrients, and today we will look at why nutritional deficiencies are the root cause of the disease. Every one of our bodies, any body, in fact, all living things that exist on this planet, are subject to the impulse to live, no matter what, until the very final breath is drawn, and until the very last remaining drop of water, if we are specifically talking about the life of plants, right up to the very last possible moment of existence. Every single living organism, whether it be a plant, an animal, or a human being, will do absolutely everything possible on a deep biological level to keep on living. This primal impulse is so incredibly powerful that there is absolutely nothing else in the entire wide world that is stronger or more resilient than it. It is the most powerful impulse that exists in all of living nature, to keep on living, no matter what challenges we might face. So, how does our body, let's go back to humans, how does our body realize this impulse? Let's figure it out if we already have it. This powerful desire to live no matter what, then where do diseases come from? Then why does the body wither and become wasted? Why does a person remain ill for many years and eventually dies in agony? What broke? It is perfectly clear and apparent that if we possess a complex biological mechanism that has an extraordinarily impressive ability to recover, it also carries a truly remarkable and powerful momentum. To live no matter what, it is obvious that if this machine cannot function normally as it should and for as long as it can use up its resource, then obviously this machine is lacking something. And here we encounter a very interesting phenomenon. Since every human being is a creature capable of complex thought, a wide multitude of diverse ideas and concepts can be deeply ingrained and instilled in a person, in many different and unique ways. Different ideas, including false ones regarding nutrition, and a person, through their own personal and deliberate decision-making process, using the comprehensive information they have been given, can make an entirely independent and conscious choice to provide their body with a certain amount of essential nutrients or not to, subsequently justifying these specific actions with a wide variety of diverse and complex theoretical frameworks. For example, it's no secret that there is an entire movement claiming that people shouldn't eat meat, that people don't need to eat meat, that meat rots in the intestines. If you feel unwell, it means you've overeaten or something like that, and you should urgently go on a starvation diet, and so on and so forth. In reality, all of this is called false information. Whether information is false or true is checked by one very simple and fundamental thing: the actual tangible result that we see. Since for many long years, I and my entire dedicated team have been deeply committed to the work of restoring people and restoring their overall health and well-being. In all my years with my very own eyes, I have truly never seen a single healthy person who avoids eating meat and who also starves themselves. To be honest, such a person simply does not exist in reality. I know there are just so many different ideas and theories out there about why it is absolutely necessary not to eat. But excuse me, yes, therapeutic fasting, but forgive me, the state of health that the person regularly demonstrates. Someone who practices therapeutic fasting. So where is your fantastic state of health? If fasting is supposed to be therapeutic, then why is your body barely hanging on? So we have a machine, a biological machine, very precisely calibrated, very precisely created, very precisely tuned, which has been given an incredible drive to live, no matter what. And all we have to do is provide this machine with the necessary nutrients, in the right proportions, so that this machine, our biological body in which we live, can realize its drive to keep going, to continue, to continue, to continue living. And this drive, this urge, will keep influencing us for as long as possible. Well, it will influence us right up to our last breath, but the body can live out its maximum lifespan only when it receives absolutely all the nutrients it needs. Based on these observations, we can logically arrive at the fundamental postulate that the underlying root cause of absolutely all known human diseases and health conditions is actually some specific kind of essential nutrient deficiency within the body. Usually, since the human body possesses a very powerful and resilient defense system, this specific situation, when a person is experiencing significant nutritional deficiencies, can actually last for quite a long time, before the vital organs and complex internal systems actually begin to noticeably break down. And first and foremost, of course, it is the immune system that stands guard against internal destruction. For example, it removes so-called failed cells. It is responsible for cell renewal. It destroys cells that have lived their lifespan and need to be replaced by new ones. The immune system also stands guard against external attacks. And if the body lacks the resources to function, and this shortage lasts for a long time, then of course a person gradually begins to experience degradation of systems and organs. All of this starts naturally with the degradation of cells. And in this way, a foundation is created upon which either new life settles or, for example, chronic inflammation. Yes, what is that? It is new life that has found a nutrient medium in these destroyed cells. And so this chronic inflammation begins, which is impossible to overcome. Or it could be some kind of external attack that the body cannot repel or has simply given up on altogether. And this too, again, becomes some kind of chronic disease. Or it is already the destruction of internal systems, and now the body is somehow trying to adapt in order to live with it. But again, the question arises, if the body is designed to regulate everything within itself, why can't it regulate this? And again, we come to the idea that the body simply doesn't have the resources, the body itself. It simply doesn't have the ability to do it. I really liked a comment under one of my videos, apparently written by a specialist. It was about plants, but again, that's also a living organism, and the person writes that when they were working with them, it turns out there are tests that when looking at some scruffy or unhealthy withering plant, there are tests that show which substances this plant is lacking. And so they say that they conducted such experiments, and when it turned out what was missing, they added it to the plant, that substance or several substances. And we observed, this person writes, how the plant recovered, how it started to look fantastic, how it began to grow, and how beautiful it became. Tell me, please, on a biological level, what is the difference between us, our living organism, and the living organism of a plant? Of course, we differ in everything except for one thing. All of us have the nutrients we need, and all of us have a powerful drive, a tremendous desire to live and develop, no matter what. And using the example of a simpler organism such as a plant, it is shown that if a plant lacks something, it begins to degrade and die. If you conduct certain tests and then add this substance to the plant begins to flourish. This very same fundamental biological principle, this exact same idea, is deeply and intricately embedded within the human body. Now, you might naturally say to me at this point, well, that is it, the great discovery has finally been made. And now we know that essential nutrients and various vitamins are what truly cure these diseases. I can say that medicine is necessary because all the professors, all the great vitaminologists point this out. And in fact, objective reality also indicates this. If a secondary pathology has already developed, some kind of chronic inflammation, tuberculosis, cancer or something else, if a secondary pathology has formed, it must be treated by a doctor of the appropriate specialty. It requires treatment in and of itself. Regarding the treatment, I really need you to please hear this, because the human body is very complex. But it is also true that if the doctor does not know the underlying causes, does not know the foundation, does not know the basics, what everything is based on, then the treatment of secondary pathology will either be very prolonged, it will be ineffective, and the pathology will keep coming back. Therefore, medicine must be inextricably based on knowledge of hypoendovitaminosis, and moreover, not just hypoendovitaminosis, but also on accurate data about nutrition. I have not heard of a single doctor who collects a patient's medical history from the perspective of their diet and nutrition. You can tell me, well, that's fine. Let's say, again, returning to the topic of meat, we actually have all the essential amino acids present in plants and other sources and so forth. Unfortunately, experiments show, and experiments, very old ones, experiments by vitaminologists, which were conducted in medical clinics all over the country throughout the Soviet Union, and this is even mentioned in the 1978 WHO report on nutrition, unfortunately show that in cases of protein deficiency, vitamins are not absorbed. If a person does not have a sufficient amount of easily accessible protein, two keywords, easily accessible protein, the most easily accessible protein for humans is meat protein. Therefore, even if you, as someone who does not eat meat, take vitamins, most of these vitamins may not be absorbed and will simply be excreted from your body. However, what other interesting phenomena do we observe? Individuals who consistently follow a nutritionally deficient or poor diet, when they finally begin to take vitamins, often start experiencing a wide range of various kinds of physical reactions. Why? This is because the physical body truly begins to awaken and come alive, and that persistent state of chronic hunger begins to manifest itself in its full and complete intensity. This is the most critical and essential point to understand here as well. If you really want to enhance your overall health and well-being, you absolutely cannot afford to overlook or avoid the situation where you must consistently provide your body with the nutrients it needs. A sufficient amount of easily accessible protein, and that means animal protein. Practice shows that people who follow these recommendations, specifically those who start eating very well and eating quality food, of course, there are various nuances in how to turn a starving person into someone who eats properly. Nevertheless, people who restore their diet and start eating enough meat, when vitamin deficiencies and hypovitaminosis are addressed, they always regain their health and start to feel better. The duration depends on the initial condition of the body. You need to understand that if the body is in poor condition, considering its size and complexity, naturally the recovery time is a bit longer. If a person has only recently started feeling unwell, then generally their condition stabilizes fairly quickly. The next thing I would like to say is why we need minerals and trace elements. How does our body in general, how does this machine work? Our body, as you can stand in front of a mirror and see, is, so to speak, quite defined. Our body is not the body of an amoeba, where at will we could, I don't know, grow 3 legs and 5 arms out of ourselves. Our body maintains its shape. And this machine works in such a way that for the body to maintain its shape, for the processes in the cells to continue, we need proteins, we need minerals and trace elements, which do what? When we look closely at the molecular level, these elements hold this intricate lattice, this complex chemical structure. They hold it very specifically, and they support it just like a structural framework. So, Why exactly do we need vitamins? We need them so that these essential chemical reactions can actually take place within the body. A reaction itself consists of protein. From amino acids, vitamins are catalysts, accelerators. They are substances that push certain substances into the cells of a particular organ. In other words, they are essential participants in the body's biochemical processes. But the process itself consists of converting proteins into amino acids and amino acids into proteins and back again. In other words, the process itself is the transformation of amino acids into proteins. And if you don't eat enough, the process itself doesn't occur in your body. If you don't have enough vitamins, the process also doesn't happen. Because how should I put it? You have a needle, you have thread separately, and you have fabric separately, but there's no tailor to sew you a dress. That's the vitamin. You have a tailor, you have a needle, you have thread, you have fabric, but you don't have a pattern or a drawing. You don't know what to sew. So these are the components, what our body is made of. Nutrients, proteins, these are like the fabric, the needle, and the thread that create the product. The tailor himself is the one who puts it all together and sets the process in motion. And the pattern itself is the minerals and trace elements that determine what it will look like. I'm speaking so figuratively right now, trying to create some analogies. And what I want to say is this. It's impossible to single out one thing and remove something else and think that everything will be fine. No, the system works as a whole. And the art of a doctor, among other things, is not only about making the right diagnosis, figuring out what has already broken, and skillfully fixing the situation. The art of a doctor lies in understanding within this system where there is a deficiency, what is missing, you see? And the art of a doctor is to rebuild, to provide the body with what it needs. These very nutrients, to look at the body from this perspective. And this is a particular point of view because you can look at a situation in different ways. You can look at it only from the perspective of what hurts. Or you can look at it from the perspective of why the system is failing, why the system isn't working. And so we are examining the situation precisely from the point of view of why the system isn't working. At the School of Mental Health, we teach you this perspective and the actions you need to take, what needs to be done, how to fix it, and why the system isn't working. At the Center for Medical Information, we work with people as professionals and consider their cases from the perspective of why the system isn't working, and we adjust the functioning of the body accordingly. That's right. Naturally, when necessary, we maintain full communication with your attending physicians because, as I said, when there is a chronic pathology, it is treated by a doctor of a specific specialty, and we have excellent communication with your doctors. And in this way, we correct this system. But I want to tell you, spreading false and misleading information can actually end up killing you, and false information, particularly when it concerns the way you choose to nourish your own body, is quite simply fatal and life-threatening, and very often so. Therefore, if you truly want to maintain a healthy lifestyle, please do not follow any restrictive diets. Every single day, several times a day, your meals must include meat because your body's functions do not stop for even a moment. Every moment, processes of destruction, creation, and defense against external attacks, whatever they may be, are happening in the body. This occurs every single moment. Therefore, the body constantly needs an influx of new resources. First of all, never eat a deficient diet. Second, make sure your diet is varied. Well, as much as possible, of course. I understand everything, but still try to keep it varied. Don't just eat chicken or, I don't know, stick to just one thing that a person chooses, right? Diversify your diet. This way you give your body the opportunity to choose what it needs at any given time. And of course, if there are already cases of hypovitaminosis, they definitely need to be addressed. Here, knowledge is essential, without a doubt. This means either studying books that we publish, in other words, you need to learn about it, or you can come to us and we will help you in this situation. So I hope I managed to convey the idea that the problem of health and the problem of illness in principle can be solved if one has the desire to solve it. And in general, in theory, it is possible to ensure that the human body lives quite a long time, because the impulse to live and to keep living, no matter what, is actually very powerful indeed. And it all depends on whether the body has the resources while obeying this impulse to maintain its healthy state. And in this way, a person can live for a very long time. I hope this lecture was interesting and answered some of your questions or doubts. Please leave your comments. Don't forget that our channel offers sponsorships. You can become a sponsor, and there are already videos available exclusively for sponsors. You can watch them and subscribe to our channel, because I noticed that 30% of people who watch us are not subscribed. Thank you to those who do subscribe. And guys, please subscribe. We have a very close-knit, friendly atmosphere and a very respectful environment. I provide, as I believe, quite valuable information regarding how we should treat our bodies, how to correct certain situations, and I answer your questions. This was Sofya Dorinskaya with you. All the best. Goodbye.